Some change in the atmosphere, architecture unfamiliar. I could get used to this.
Hi guys, in the previous episode we bought ourselves a bus, we stripped it out, we cut it up, and now the magic begins.
If you need me, you'll know where I'll be. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun, feeling like the someone. I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun.
Alright, so my first attempt with the rear of the bus, I built everything very square and it was like very triangular, similar to my bay window, and that just didn't work with the Syncro. The Syncro is more roundy. So we cut it off and I actually took pieces of square tubing and sliced them, did many little slices with a cut-off saw and bent the square tubing and just tacked it in places so that I could get a curvature that formed the shape of the bus. It just had to be, you know, like a woman. The van had to be sexy. I mean, come on. So the next step was to build a roof rack. And the only way to build this roof rack is to build some square tubing, find the highest point, because the Vanagon in the front's a bit lower and the roof at the back's a bit lower, and in the middle it pitches up and it dies off to the sides. And from there I managed to build the roof rack. So we had to fix some body panels inside the bus, which was the front driver's section floor.
Yeah, that's how it's done in South Africa.
Because somehow the brake fluid ran out of the reservoir and deteriorated that floor. So I had to go to a scrapyard, cut a piece out by a scrapyard, and then tediously weld that floor pan in. So after having done all the framework, it was now time for seats. So I got some of the guys to help me and we cut out some plywood benches and we drilled some holes and we did a test fit with the seats and we sent them off to upholstery. We also did the front door cards. We cut fresh door cards out of masonite and we dumped the old rotten stuff. Right, so the time has come for us to choose an engine. And my favorite engine in a VW Vanagon is the 1.8 turbo 20 valve engine. But for this application, with this Syncro, I needed the sound. I needed something like a V6 sound. I wanted something with a low drone that just sounded fun. So I went shopping around and lo and behold, I found myself an Audi, a complete Audi. I bought the Audi, we stripped it to pieces, and when I got home, the engine was shot.
Everybody hurts.
So after the bad news, I got a call from a friend and he said, Harry, I've just received an Audi in my scrapyard. It has 60,000 kilometers on the clock and the engine is immaculate. Come fetch it. So off we were, we pulled that motor and we were off to the drawing board to make this V6 engine mate up to the Syncro box. So here in South Africa we have plenty microbuses and caravels, but there was only 1,900 VW Syncros ever on our shores here in South Africa.
We'll catch some midway clever in my brand new Syncro bus. It's got a fuel injected engine and a powerful four-wheel drive. He said, put your trust in Syncro bus, you'll bring them back alive.
And we searched around for a bit of help here, and there was a guy by the name of Stuart Sterling from the Syncro Hospital who gave us so much advice. Thanks, Stuart. The 2.6 microbus engine that was only available here in South Africa, that bell housing actually fits onto the Audi engine. So I took the bell housing, we had to drill a couple of holes to make the dowel pins fit. We took the flywheel of the 2.5 microbus, that's the 5-cylinder Audi engine. We machined it down all the way to the ring gear. We bolted onto the back of the engine and voila, it fitted. Alright, so now the motor and the gearbox is inside the Syncro, and you have to make your own engine cradle. So the only way to do this is to get yourself 2 block and tackles, the one on the left and the one on the right of the engine, that I could actually pick the engine up on the rear and also tip it left to right, because the front of the motor is already bolted in with the gearbox. So you've got 2 moving points at the back. So just remember, when you cut the van up, you had 2 reference points, which was the chassis and the holes that's in the chassis. Those are reference points. And then also your deck lid, your engine deck lid, those pieces you also have as reference points. Guys, you need to measure, measure, measure. You can't have your engine off center, you can't have your engine too high, you can't have your engine too low. Get the van on its wheels as well, is very important, and then you can weld your engine cradle up for good. So the next phase of the build was to flip the bus onto its side, which we did with good old-fashioned arm power. And with flipping the bus on the side, we noticed that there were some hairline cracks in the chassis, which we welded up. We also cleaned the bottom of the chassis. We scraped all of the gunk and the mud and everything off, because at a later phase we're going to rubberize the bottom of the chassis. We also extended some of the bump stops, the 2 bump stops by the rear springs of the bus. We extended them longer because we lifted the van at the rear. And it's a great way to inspect the bottom of the bus and make sure everything is 100% in working order. So with all the steel work and the chassis welding work, we flipped the van back onto its wheels, we hooked it up on an A-frame, and we took it in for rubberizing and spray painting. While that was happening, I was at home cleaning off all the parts. So we decided on a color for the undercarriage parts, which was red, black and grey. We thought that would be a nice modern fresh look.
The radiators, the undercarriage, the brakes, everything has been sprayed.
So once I started dressing the engine, I noticed that the sump had a crack in it. And we swapped the sump out from the first engine that we bought, because that was still in good condition. But there was a couple of aluminium tracks on the inside of the sump that we had to machine out. So with all our undercarriage parts painted and nice and shiny and fresh, and our engine and gearbox mated together, we are patiently waiting for our van to come back from the spray painters. Hi guys, if you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up, or hit the notification bell and follow us on Shotgun's journey.
I'll be riding shotgun underneath the hot sun.